Good morning, everybody. It's Barb Katie. I had a little bit of technical difficulty a little bit ago. So hopefully this is all coming through now in fine shape. I love technology, but sometimes technology doesn't love me. Hope your Monday is proceeding well. I am so happy to be back home in West Virginia. As much as I love going south to visit my brother, family, and friends, I'm always delighted to be back home and settle back into my normal routine and sleep in my own bed and all the wonderful things that are a part and process of saying I'm home now. So it was a wonderful trip. This is a wonderful homecoming. It's a brisk 20 degrees today in my little town, and uh, the frost is definitely on the pumpkin. So all is well here, and it's sunny and bright. I was able to go out for a quick nippy walk, which was very energizing and made sure I was awake to talk to you. And I am ready to sort of review and recap some of the things we've talked about the last couple of weeks when I decided perhaps we could share some thoughts on persisting in our journey. Sort of based on a reread of the poem Don't Quit, which I think all of us have read at one time or another, or even quite a few times through life, and how important it is, even when the journey is difficult and challenging, to keep going, to get up that one more time than we fall down, because that is the way we get to where we want to be when we persist in our efforts. The first week we talked, we discussed a little bit about prioritizing our lives and how important it was uh, to list the things that we have to do or think we have to do every day, and then to rank them in the order of importance. So we focus our energies on those that are most essential to health and well being for ourselves and those we love. And that it was really, really important that we put ourselves on that priority list as well. So we take time to take care of us in order to empower us and enable us to care for others that we love and who depend on us. And then we had uh, spent the next week talking about evaluating what was working and what wasn't working in our lives, and how difficult habits can be to change because they become so ingrained in our way of doing things. And we I ask everybody to sort of think about what habits were working well for us, uh, what habits were not working well, what new habits could we incorporate that would be more helpful, and which habits we could try to eliminate. Changing habits is extremely difficult. And that's one of the things I thought we might talk about today. Uh, since in the word persist, the third letter is R. And I got to thinking, well, changing a habit really requires reprogramming, because it's by definition, a habituated behavior that we do without having to think. It frees our mind for more important concerns. Usually, habits are for mundane chores uh, that should not require a lot of brain energy. They're just things we sort of put on autopilot as we go about our daily lives. The only problem is sometimes they do get in the way of progress in certain areas of our life. And last week, I sort of hinted to you about my waste can story. And I'm going to really very briefly uh, share it with you here, simply because of how important that story was to me when I was trying to modify my behaviors, when I was trying to reprogram certain habits I had that were counterproductive to my best interest. And with that in mind, I had gone to a class, and this lady had shared a very simple exercise to help us stay focused, because one of the things that you deal with when you're trying to reprogram behaviors is you tend to lose the focus on the change you're trying to make and revert to uh, the behavior that is known and comfortable and ingrained in your everyday life. And what she said to me was, all of us in the class, was something very simple. She said, "You need to go home and move your kitchen trash can." Well, I was horrified because my trash can had been in the same place forever and it could not possibly be moved. The world will probably come to an end if I move my trash can. Uh, but I tried to keep an open mind. I took a deep breath and I thought about it. And I thought, well, that would certainly be a big change in my life. And that's such a mundane thing. But think about how many times you go to the kitchen trash can in your daily routine. And you probably have other things that you habitually do that you're not even aware of, simply because you're not supposed to be aware of them. They've become habits and you don't have to think about them anymore. So I came home and I looked around in the kitchen and I dismayed because there was no other place in the world my trash can could possibly be. I had a list of excuses as to why it had to be in that particular location. Well, it was not nailed to the floor. And I sort of shrugged my shoulders, squared my back, and I thought, this is ridiculous. You can move this trash can. This is not the end of the world. And so I looked around and I finally found a location that was a whole 12 feet away. It was out in the laundry room, which is right off the kitchen. And so I picked up the trash can and I marched it out to the laundry room and set it down by the garage door. And I thought, well, okay, that's not too bad. You know, it's convenient to take out the trash on trash time. And I began. Well, I cannot tell you how many times I went to the kitchen location as opposed to its brand new home to deposit trash. And I would think to myself every time, this is a change. This is a good change. I can do this. And I would think about the behavior had connected with that really was a very good change in my life. And that would remind me and reinforce the energy I needed to focus on developing that new behavior and eliminating the old behavior that I was trying so desperately to modify. And as time went by, and it's important that change requires time to establish itself into a habit, things got much easier and I didn't have to focus quite as hard. A new habit was being born as I processed through this day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. Well, all was going well. I was feeling really good, making great progress. And I got a call from one of my kids that he was coming home from Japan and wanted to crash here for a few days. And I said, great, can't wait to see you. Come on home. So he did. He came on home. And I was so excited to see. And like all my kids have done their entire life, we come in the house through the garage. Uh, and he comes in through the garage door, and I'm ready in the kitchen. I saw him pull in the driveway, and I'm ready in the kitchen with the mother hug. And in he comes, this tall, lanky young man with a cup of Starbucks coffee. And he smiles at me really big, and he's got the coffee in one hand, and he lets it drop right in the location he had known for his entire life of the kitchen trash can. Well, it splattered all over the floor. It made a mess. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, you moved the kitchen trash can. And I said, yes, I did. And he said, why? And I said, because I could. And he said, okay. And we cleaned it up. And finally, I got my mother hug, and things were going just fine. And he's staying and he's dealing with my change. And he's not real thrilled about my change because he's doing the same things I was doing. He's going to the previous location. Then he has to remember she moved it out into the laundry room by the garage, and he's got to walk out there and come back in. Well, it impacted him probably even a little bit harder than it did me because it was not his choice. Uh, and one night after I'd gone to bed, he moved it back in the kitchen. Well, I woke up the next morning. I said, "What have you done?" And he said, "I moved it back." And I said, "You can't do that. It's not yours to do." I said, "This is my change and I need to make it. And you've got to help me. I need you to help me with this, not put it back to the way it was because that's not helping me change." And so he sighed and he says, "Okay, Mom, if it's that important to you, I'll move it back." And he did. He moved it back, and eventually he sort of got used to it too. But in that moment, it occurred to me that it is very important when we make changes in our lives that we let our loved ones know why we're doing it and ask them to help us in our journey to do different. Because once he got on board, it was much easier for both of us. He knew it was important to me. His My son loves me, like yours, I'm sure, love you. And he wanted to help me in any way he could, even in this small way. And that has always stuck with me through ever since I went through that silly little exercise, that it is really important to get help and to make people aware of what help you need and to keep persisting so that you have time to reprogram the habits that are getting in your way and either remove them or modify them into more helpful processes to enable you to achieve the end result you so much desire. So this week, I am looking at which of my habits I can really begin to reprogram. Uh, what things do I need to do in order to reprogram? Um, can I you can't say too many R words in a row or you get tongue tied. Uh, can I repurpose some of my habits? Can I redirect the energy and the effort for those that are not producing the results that I want? Can I refocus my efforts in a more positive direction? Uh, can I keep repeating until these new behaviors become habits? Uh, it is a process, but we are perfectly capable of achieving the reestablishment of good habits, the development of new habits, and the removal of old habits if we persist and don't give up when it seems to be difficult and frustrating, because change is hard for everyone. Change impacts not only the person seeking to change, but the people who surround them on a daily basis. Awareness is one of the keys to helping yourself achieve the desired result. One of the things that I'm so grateful for is Rick's invitation for all of us to join him in being accountable for our progress every week. And with that in mind, uh, I have redoubled my efforts to persist in achieving the results I desire to achieve. And like many of you are doing, I am focusing on my efforts and what those results are, and making every extra effort to be fully accountable to the people who surround me in this weight loss journey. It's so important that we do that. Even if we cannot meet in person and have an official weight on our chapter scale, we can still meet, maybe by telephone, maybe by a note, maybe by an occasion like this, or a more interactive Zoom call where you could actually talk with each other uh, in real time. We can weigh on our home scale and have an idea of the progress we are making. And the awareness of how the direction is going is key to what we're trying to accomplish. So, with that in mind, whether I'm at home or whether I'm traveling, I always make the effort to record the results of a week's work worth of effort. And Rick, I'm really happy to tell you this week I'm down a pound and a half. I'm so glad to be home. I'm looking forward to hearing how you're doing this week as well. And I'm wishing you every success in your journey as you move forward. You're looking great. You're doing uh, everything you know you should do. You're definitely walking the talk. And everyone, I hope you'll come along. And this year will be our very, very best year ever. I'm going to let you go now. Thanks for waiting around for me to show up. It's been a wonderful visit with all of you, and you have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye now.